Introducing the Triad Extreme Universal, I'd like to point out the different parts and pieces that you receive with your machine. First off, I'd like to mention the 3 guides for the basic welding that can be accomplished with the Universal model. The first guide is the overlap plate that you see attached to the base of the machine. The overlap plate or overlap guide can be removed by removing the 2 screws and taking it away from the machine. In addition to that, you also receive the basic hem guide. The basic hem guide attaches to the retaining rods found here on the wedge housing. The third guide you receive with the Triad Extreme Universal is the fin weld guide. This particular guide has an edge for the material to run against and is placed on the base of the Triad with the overlap plate removed. It is attached from the other side of the machine and will be demonstrated for you in a moment. The fin guide is placed on the base of the unit in this location, with this particular tab being inserted inside the cut slot in the base of the machine. Further, the screw can be used in this position to position the fin guide in the proper seam width for welding. The Triad Extreme Universal also includes the wedge housing, the top guide for the positioning of the upper sheet of material, and also a hot wedge at the particular seam size that you've purchased a machine with. Your Triad Extreme Universal also includes the 2 material front guides, one for the lower sheet of material and the other for the upper sheet of material. Plus, it does include the smooth steel rollers along with emery cloth, a tool kit, cleaning brush, as well as full written instructions on the machine. And would like to show you some specific points on the machine as we look from all 4 sides of the machine. Beginning in what's considered the front of the machine, you will notice the front material guides. These particular guides are adjustable according to the different seam width that you are welding, or there are further front guide pieces that help you in hemming style finishes and operation. These other front guide pieces will be introduced during the particular machine, the particular Triad that you may have. From the one side of the machine, you'll notice the 2 roller bearings on either side, which are used in our track section for the smooth running of the machine within that track rail system. In addition to that, you'll notice the cover here, which again, further described in maintenance, will be the lower final roller chain and tensioning that you will do as a maintenance to the machine itself. Further, you will notice the 2 carriage wheels on this side, again for the smooth rolling of the machine either on a floor or table surface or within our track sections. From the rear of the machine, you will notice the upper roller pinch arm as well as the lower pinch roller. These 2, of course, come together when the welding takes place as they pinch the melted coated together to form the bonding of the weld. In addition to that, you'll also notice the drive wheel located here. When the wheel is out in this particular position, the machine is either stationary for small pieces to weld through the machine, or for easy transport of the machine when moving it from one place to another. With the drive wheel then pushed underneath the machine, and making contact to the lower pinch roller, now the machine is a self-propelled machine. When during your welding time and engagement of the weld lever arm, the roller will automatically turn and the drive roller will begin to move the machine in a self-propelled nature. When you're finished welding, all will come to a stop. From this side of the machine, once again, you will notice the two roller bearings for easy moving through the track section. You'll also notice the wedge housing with where the hot wedge is placed within. This housing allows for protection for the operator when he's working with the different guide pieces to form the different weld finish styles, which will be explained to you later. Here is the upper pressure roller arm. This also has a chain and tensioning system, which will be described to you in the maintenance of the machine. The lever arm here is used for the engagement of the wedge when you're ready to begin welding. In this particular position, the wedge is stowed in the house, but when turned inward, the wedge is pushed out to the pressure rollers here, and the welding then begins. As an introduction to the top cover and the various operating features of the Triad Extreme, I'd like to point out some of the switches and the adjustments you will make for the proper bonding of thermoplastic coated textiles. First off, the Triad is either available in a 110 volt or 230 volt power supply. On the 110, your plug should work on a common power source. 230, you will add the according plug to your particular country style, and again, running on a single phase electrical power source. Further, your first switch here is the on-off switch to provide power to the unit itself. And when this switch is turned on, you'll notice that the green light comes on, showing that power is coming to the unit. In addition to that, you'll also notice that the Wattlow controller turns on, and you will see the display of the temperature setting as well as the current temperature of the unit, or of the hot wedge on the machine. The second switch we have down here is the ability of the roller wheels to work in either a manual mode or in an automatic mode. In the manual mode, the wheels will turn on their own, with you being able to adjust the speed of those roller wheels. In the automatic mode, the wheels will turn when you engage the wedge lever arm in the welding position. And when that lever is pulled away, the wheels will stop. For the direction of the machine, you also have the ability of the wheels to go in a forward, in a neutral or not moving, and finally a reverse position. So by switching the switch here, you are able to move the direction of the machine in either a forward motion, leaving it neutral without the wheels turning, or bringing it in a reverse motion. You'll notice we have 3 fuses on top, one for the heat source, one for the general control of the machine, and finally one for the motor. Finally, the most important aspect of the machine would be in this area here, where you're determining the proper temperature, the proper speed of the machine, as well as the proper pressure of the pinch rollers in the back to create the best bond. The Wattlow controller is basically controlled with either these up or down arrows for you to set a particular temperature. When you hold down on the up arrow, you will notice that the green turns on and you are able to make adjustments to the temperature. When releasing, the green will show you the set temperature that you've desired, and the red numbers begin to increase, which is showing you that power is now going to the hot wedge and beginning to climb the temperature to what you have set. For the speed control here, the numbers reflect basically a 0 or minimum or no speed to a 100% of the maximum speed of the machine, which is approximately 10 meters per minute or about 30 feet per minute. So as we use the dial, for example, in 50 number, you are running the motor at about 50% of its capacity. The combination between the temperature that you desire and work with and the speed are the main elements to give you the quality weld. Finally, the pressure adjustment gives you the ability to either increase or decrease the temperature. By screwing the knob down, you gain pressure to increase the pinch of the rollers on thicker coated materials. And on thinner materials, you might reduce that so that, again, you don't have as much of a pinch on the thinner plastic coating. Another important aspect to speak of from the operation of the Triad Extreme are the two lever arm mechanisms. The first mechanism here, this lever arm, is used for the pinch roller engagement to either open the pinch rollers so that you can now enter in your material and position it correctly at the beginning of the welding, and then when positioned correctly, to close the rollers in order to begin the welding process. The second lever, which is used in the operation of the machine, is the wedge engagement lever located here. In this particular position, the engagement lever is considered in the out position so that the hot wedge is stowed inside the wedge housing. When you are ready for the welding process, the lever is turned into the pinch rollers, and at the same time, via the automatic mode switch, the wheels begin turning to begin the welding process. If there are any problems that you're experiencing during welding, or when you've come to the end of the weld, you pull the wedge lever out so that all action stops. For welding with the Triad Extreme Universal and performing the overlap weld, the overlap guide can be attached to the machine with the two screws that you see here. Once located the positioning holes for these screws, go ahead and tighten, as well as use the Allen key for this further securing of the guide in position. For the adjustment of the overlap guide located here, so that you adjust according to the wedge width or the seam width that you are welding, insert a ruler into the lower side and up against the guide edge. As you slide the ruler forward, it will be matching the guide edge located here. Then put the cold wedge in the engaged or in position, and you can make a comparison between the tip of the wedge and also the edge of the ruler. These two edges should match. If adjustment is needed for different size welding widths, use the Allen key in the set screw here on the overlap guide. When you loosen the set screw, you will be able to move the guide on the two retaining rods located here so that you come to the proper fixed position here between the tip of the wedge and the edge of the ruler. For the front material guide, once the overlap plate has been put in position, it's very easy again with the ruler to put that up against the lower lap guide and then move the lower front material guide into position next to the edge of the ruler and tighten to secure. On the upper portion of the wedge housing is located the top material guide. The top guide, when working with different welding widths, can be adjusted by the 2 thumb screws that you see located here. Once again, taking a ruler, placing it in position on the top guide, and moving it forward, you want to adjust the top guide so that the edge of the ruler, again, matches with the edge of your wedge. So taking a view from this angle, you'll be able to see the tip of your wedge and match it by moving the upper guide so that the edge of the ruler is in line. And with the top guide in position at the welding area, with putting the ruler against this top guide, you are able then to find the proper position for the upper front material guide. So once that ruler is in position, bring the upper guide next to the edge of the ruler and tighten. Now you have created, for this particular machine, a 1-inch seam width both at the welding area as well as at the front where the material is entering. For the adjustment of the overlap plate for different size welding widths, use a straight edge that you would put through the lower side of the machine and up against the guide tray. When you slide it against the guide edge and move it forward towards the pinch rollers and expose the wedge, you should be able to make a visual of the edge of the ruler along with the edge of the tip of the wedge. So compare these 2 points and make any adjustment that's necessary from the set screw located here. When loosening this particular set screw, you have the chance to move the guide on the 2 retaining rods to again properly position the tip of the wedge with the edge of the ruler. For a demonstration of overlap welding with the Triad Extreme Universal, bring the machine into the beginning position and make sure to put the drive roller underneath so it make contact with the lower pressure roller so that in an automatic mode the machine moves itself. Next, take the lower sheet of material and enter it to the lower side here and underneath the overlap plate located here. Bring the material all the way through and up and over the lower pinch roller located here. You will find that the edge of the material is riding against not only the lower overlap guide, but also the front guide in position too. Take the other sheet of material and enter it into the machine from the top side. Again, bringing it across the machine, underneath the retaining rods, and up against the top guide that you see here. Bring the material through and just underneath the upper pinch roller. And once again, you have an edge for the material not only in the welding area here, but also on the front side. With your 2 pieces of material in position here, both the lower sheet as well as the upper sheet, you are now able to take the pinch roller engagement lever and bring it down gently so that you pinch the 2 pieces of material together right at the start of the rollers. Now you are ready for welding, where your next move will be to engage the wedge engagement lever arm into the welding position. While welding, it's best for the operator to be in front of the machine as it's approaching and have control of the material, both from the top as well as from the bottom. Have control of the material so that it stays up against the guide edges going through the machine. So with a positioning like this, reach over, engage the lever arm, and begin the welding process. Your overlap weld has been made. For the hem weld style of welding, first remove the overlap guide by loosening the two set screws, removing them, and then removing the overlap guide. Then take your hem guide and attach it to the retaining rods found here. For the proper insertion of material to form for the hem weld finish style, begin by moving the lower front material guide partially away from its position that it was at for overlap welding. Take your material and make a soft fold, so then you are able to enter this soft fold into the lower part of the Triad welder. Bring the material through all the way to the welding area and make sure to take the top part of the edge of material and get it up against the upper top guide. Once in position, you can remove any excess slack around the housing and slide the hem guide into position to trap the material in the hem weld finish style. With the material up against the top guide and your hem guide in position, holding the material in that folded shape, you're able then to move the material back to a start position at the close of the rollers. So bring your material to this particular position and close the pressure roller engagement arm down. For the welding of the hem finish, the operator should pay attention in front of the machine to have the proper amount of material folded over and entering into the machine. The operator will use the upper top measuring or front guide here for the edge of the material, as well as can use the lower guide for a positioning where the fold of the material is occurring. Not only should you be paying attention here as the material enters for a proper amount of material entering, but also look near the welding area here and make sure the top edge of material is up against that top guide. So when ready for welding, concentrate here and engage the wedge to begin the welding process. Again, concentrating here and in this area, making sure that you have the material flowing up against the top guide. And when completed, your basic hem weld. For making a pocket style weld finish, you're able to use the inner guide located here on the wedge housing by pushing on the triangular piece located behind me here and bringing out the inner guide piece so you can match the large pocket size that you wish to create. For the pocket weld, pre-fold the material to the size that you're looking for as far as the finished fold of material size. Enter it into the Triad on the lower side and then bring it forward through to the welding area. Separate it at this point so it flows through all the way to the pressure roller area at the welding position. Once in this position, you can enter that inner guide out so that it's nice and comfortable at the fold of the material here. And bring the hem guide in to once again secure the material up against that inner edge. At this point, you are able to move the material into position at the welding area here and use the pinch roller engagement lever to position the material right at the beginning of welding. Make sure that the edge of the material continues to be up against the top guide in this position. Continue to watch the material for the proper size as it enters into the machine with the machine moving towards you. As the operator and holding of the material in this position, also watch in where the welding area is here so that you make sure the edge of the material continues to be up against the top guide. So with your position ready here, engage the lever arm, concentrate here with your material, and watch here for the finishing of the weld. A pocket weld finish is now made. For the fin weld style, with the Triad Universal welder, insert the fin guide into the guide tray and use the screw so that you can secure the guide to the proper wedge width. Use a straight edge through the lower section of the machine and up against the guide edge so that you can properly match the edge of the ruler with the edge of the wedge. Once that position has been found, tighten down the screw to secure. For the fin style weld, the two pieces of material enter into the machine on the upper side here, and the lower sheet of material comes in and goes underneath the guide tray located here. The other sheet of material, your top sheet, comes in and is up against the guide edge on the top of the housing, the top guide, located here. With the two pieces of material into the upper and the lower fin guide, the material can then be positioned at the top of the rollers here so that the welding will begin right at the beginning or edge of the two closed materials. Once in position, lower the pinch roller engagement arm to secure the two pieces in position. When welding, make sure the operator concentrates in front of the machine by keeping the two pieces of material on an even line up against the upper front material guide. In addition to that, also concentrate in this region here where you can see both pieces of material, the upper and the lower. Concentrate that they also split and stay up against the upper and lower guide edges at the welding area. So reach over to engage the wedge engagement lever arm, swing it into position, and produce the fin weld.